Hello there and welcome to Tech Vibes. I'm Michelle Sklar. We are here at 48 Hours in the Valley. We actually have the opportunity to speak with some of the members of the C100, which is this phenomenal mentoring organization that has come together and for this particular event, giving some insights of their success stories to fellow Canadians. So we're joined here with Yen Lee from a company with Uptake here in Palo Alto. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for spending time with me.
Absolutely. So let's start off by talking to us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
So Uptake is a travel search engine. We help consumers, especially women and moms, plan drive trips. So where to go, where to stay, what to do, where to eat. We take the best of web search with information from all over the web, whether it's a travel website, a local website, and we develop some secret sauce to it. So we understand a review that says, my 5-year-old loves the pool and slide. It's a family-friendly review. You should recommend that Delta Hotel to somebody visiting Whistler. And you can't really go anywhere else on the web and say, this is the kind of trip I want. Help me make sense of all that information out there. So we're a search engine that helps consumers make better decisions faster.
Very cool. Now, so certainly this is something that you're not new to. And we were talking earlier off camera about one of your first ventures here down in the Valley. So we can kind of maybe back up, I guess, about 12 years and tell us a little bit about your story. Where did you start off in Canada and how did you get down here?
So I spent the last 16 years in the U.S. and the last 14 here in Silicon Valley, and primarily in search, web search, local search, travel search, and my very first foray in the internet was when I founded CitySearch's first office here in San Francisco. And
now, for those of our audience members that are not familiar with CitySearch, let's just give them a little bit of insight on what that's about.
So CitySearch is the best of Yellow Pages, your local entertainment guide, and the local section of the newspaper all mashed together to give you everything you need to know about your local community, your local neighborhood, your local city. Very
cool. Okay, so you come down to the Valley 12 years ago. You start a company called CitySearch, with the first office here in San Francisco. How did you even, you're from Vancouver originally?
Yes. So I can't tell you how clueless I was and how clueless we were. I mean, this is 96, one of the very first web companies. I had never had an operating job before. I had been a consultant for McKinsey, doing newsprint consulting in Ontario and Newfoundland, railroad consulting. So when we walked in, we, the founding team, it was shocking how little we knew about running a company. But being first to market has a lot of advantages, and we had a lot of time to figure it out. And as it turned out, CitySearch was a very big winner in the local space because we learned from our mistakes and just kept executing and iterating until we got it right.
Okay, so you're from Vancouver originally. You started off in industries that are not related to this at all. So, it's interesting. We tend to define successful tech ventures as those coming out of Silicon Valley, or in the East Coast, we would call it Silicon Alley. So why is it that Canadians are so determined to want to come down to the Valley to build their success as an entrepreneur?
So I wouldn't go so far as to say that there hasn't been a lot of great Canadian companies built in Canada, but there are a number of key drivers to why it's easier to build tech companies in the U.S. And especially in Silicon Valley. And in some ways, we should give credit to the Canadian entrepreneurs who are successful back home, even more credit. Given they don't have the advantages of Silicon Valley. And I sort of summarize those advantages a couple of ways. The first is the culture. And first and foremost in the culture is risk. That it's okay to fail. Here, investors and team members are okay failing if you've done the right thing and done your best. Second is there's a willingness to go big. So it's easier to raise a bigger round to go after a big idea. It's easier to raise a bigger round to hire better people to go after it faster. You know the old adage about a great engineer is worth 10 ordinary engineers, and a world-class engineer is worth 100 ordinary engineers. And sometimes you need more capital and you need that credibility to go get those engineers. And you need you need that kind of backing. You need to have that kind of nerve, and it's easier here because the culture enables it. Second is the cluster of talent. The cluster of talent, the network of engineers required, business folks required, the secret mafia of Canadians down here. As we're building C100, it's amazing how many times people said, "I didn't know you were Canadian."
So is that something you sort of, you keep under your hat until the right time for it to come out?
Yes. Usually around hockey playoff season.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Then the true Canadian comes out. So we were talking here, just to sort of skip ahead a little bit here, about the cultural differences and between Canada and the U.S. and in particular when it comes to sort of the culture of the tech community. And I think that is a big part of why, eyes light up, when the opportunity to come down to an event like 48 Hours in the Valley and spend time with these mentors. So what is that cultural difference? Would you have to say this is the most salient point there?
I think I would say the single biggest difference is risk tolerance from the investors, risk tolerance from the entrepreneurs, risk tolerance from the folks that the entrepreneurs build the organization around, the team members, the engineers, the marketing folks, the product development folks. The risk tolerance, the willingness to fail, the willingness to go big, the willingness to try new things when it isn't working.
So this is interesting. Nice segue into the point that I did want to get to here, is that City Search, you mentioned, actually didn't turn a profit until about 2 years ago. And really, the company had been around for about a dozen years. So what was the value? And it was acquired by a larger...
City Search was acquired by IAC, Barry Diller, and Ticketmaster.
Right, by Ticketmaster. Okay, so here we have this company that was acquired by Ticketmaster that wasn't necessarily a moneymaker in a hard dollar sense. What was the value?
Well, I think there's some categories where size matters, right? There's some other recent examples would be Facebook, Twitter, where if you can aggregate audience that's sticky, that's engaged, advertisers, investors, strategic partners know it's critical. And City Search was the clear winner in the local space. And so it made sense for, at the time, for Barry Diller's organization to buy City Search to complement all their other assets like Ticketmaster.
Right.
So sometimes it's about the business model, and sometimes it's about the growth rate to own critical crossroads on the internet. And you've seen that, obviously. Facebook is a phenomenal example. Google's another example where Google didn't have a business model for its first 4 or 5 years. City Search had a business model. It wasn't really working, but they were doing a very good job of establishing themselves as a leader.
Okay. So my last question for you is really about, defining whether or not you have remained a true Canadian. Starbucks or Tim Hortons?
Sorry, is that a question? How could that be a question? You can get chicken noodle soup, you can get donuts, and you can get great coffee at Tim Hortons. Well, the coffee may not be good at Starbucks, but the donuts alone.
The donuts alone.
That's not a question.
You have kept to your Canadian roots. Yeah, and thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate that. We're here with Tech Vibes, talking to the members of the C100 here, and I'm Michelle Sklar with Tech Vibes.